please call the roll call.
Dave Kessinger. Donna Limbaugh.
Present.
Okay, Chris Fry.
Here.
James Demko, yes. Otis Marsh.
Here.
And Susan Thomason.
Here. Okay. Roll's been
Space over here
called.
if you want it. Dave.
All 6 members are here. We'll go on to number 2, approval of the previous meeting's minutes. You've all had an opportunity to look them over.
I wasn't here, but it says there were nobody absent last time.
So we need to change that.
Well, I don't know if you need to change it.
Otis wasn't here.
Said there was nobody absent.
I didn't print them off this time. So.
Jeez, I
He's
don't need
been-
mine. Sorry. Okay.
Okay, any
Yeah.
other changes or additions or
fine.
corrections?
The only addition I wanted was to make sure, because we all assumed that the contract does say city, and we all know it's going to be amended to borough. We just want to make sure nobody thinks we're overlooking that.
Okay,
So I want
and
that
that's
in there that-
under,
Because I wrote it down, but I didn't say it last time. So I don't,
Well, if you didn't say it, then it wouldn't be in
it
the
wouldn't
minutes.
be in the minutes,
Okay.
so she listens to the tape.
okay, got it. Okay, I just want to make
So-
sure, because it's some comments.
Any other corrections besides the roll? All right, do I have a motion to approve the minutes with the correction of the roll call for the previous meeting of April 8th, 2014?
Yes?
A second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes with the addition of Otis Marsh's name is absent for the minutes for April 8th, 2014. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. We are on to A, okay, that's the minutes. 3, amendment and approval of today's agenda. Yes, Leo.
We received an appeal of a decision by the building official, and we need to schedule a public hearing. And that could go under new business A.
New business A, and how do you want to word that? An appeal?
Appeal of a decision by the building official.
Okay, appeal of a decision by the building official.
This would just be scheduling the public hearing.
Schedule a public hearing. Yes, Dave.
Yes, I'd like to have a discussion of the University of Alaska land sale. Not land sale, proposed timber disposal sale.
Timber
Sales.
disposal sale, and you want that under new business or discussion items?
Either or.
Is there any action to be taken?
Possibly, so let's put it under new business. I don't know.
So this is a timber sale?
Yeah.
Okay, and that would be B, 9A and 9B. Timber sale.
Gonna watch one.
Yeah.
It's got big print too for old people.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the agenda with the additions of 9A, appeal of a decision by a building official, and 9B, a timber sale? Discussion. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
Approve it.
A second?
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to amend and to approve the agenda as amended with 2 additional items. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. That brings us to number 4, public hearing. Our first public hearing is on APZ number 14-05. A public hearing for a request from First Bank for a replat subdivision of lots 2, 3, and a portion of 4 of Tidelands addition subdivision of ATS 9 and a portion of lots 1, 2, and 3 of block 25 of USS 1252 and tract A of the Hammer and Wecon subdivision.
They sent letters of notification to all property owners within 600 feet with no response.
Okay.
Rick was gonna try to be here, but I can explain what this is.
Oh, thank you.
It's a bunch of these little lots. which is pretty common downtown, and they wanna make one of the lots go to the First Bank parking lot, the existing First Bank. Another lot would be the old First Bank building that's vacant. And then along Joa Street, they wanna create more parking, preserve that parking. It meets all the requirements of a subdivision, this land doesn't have minimum lot sizes, so that's the goal here.
That's to preserve this parking here?
Yes, on the bottom of the plat.
Okay. Any persons to speak in the public hearing and
I spoke to the people around it and they were fine with it.
Does this require an action at this time or you wait till
Later,
unfinished
under
business?
consideration, yeah.
On to 4B, PZ 14-07, public hearing on a request from Mary Lee Jones for a replat of lots 1 and 2 of Block 2 of the Frederick Sound subdivision, parcels number 00001003161 and 00001003163, located at 607 Sandy Beach Road.
I'm sorry, somehow this didn't get in the packet.
Yeah,
It was in last
that was-
time.
Yeah,
That's
it
the
was
one.
sent to us too,
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
and
What
I
it is
spoke
it's
with Marilee.
moving the line between the lots so it doesn't go through the corner of the house. And this meets all minimums also.
For the house she wants to sell and then the one she wants to build.
Is it gonna make any difference with these wood sheds that are no longer, or that aren't on the property?
No,
They'll be torn down for the house plans, as
I
I
would think so,
understand it.
yes.
She needs a house without any stairs, and the existing one has multiple levels.
I was pertaining to the ones that weren't on her property, but, or partially on her
Oh,
property.
the woodshed.
Yeah, I was
across the
just
street.
curious if this replotting was gonna have any
Oh, I
purpose,
thought you
so they're
meant
grandfathered in.
The other three,
Yeah, there's a total of four.
4 sheds.
Yeah.
That's an awfully
5.
large right of way, but I assume they'll be moving.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, did you receive any letters?
Oh, I received one letter of support from Dave Ulmer.
Yeah.
Hi Leo, I'm writing in support of Mary Lee Jones' request for her property at 607 Sandy Beach Road. As Mary Lee's next door neighbor, I see zero adverse effects from her taking this action. Please, I hope the planning commission will approve her request.
Okay.
And you said it's all minimum sizes and
Yes,
everything.
By moving that boundary.
much
I
larger
motion
than
that we
nuclear.
approve.
Yeah.
We have to do it under unfinished business. I know, we'd like to just do it all at once. Okay, that brings us to 5 on the agenda, visitors' views related to agenda items. If you're going to speak, please state your name and your concern.
Am I speaking now or just
Go
say
ahead.
that I want to speak?
No, this is your time to speak as long as it's related to an agenda
You want me
item.
to come up there?
Madam Chair, wouldn't that be fine? With that speaker?
As long as they hear you on that thing.
Yeah, state your name.
So I'm Sandy Dixon, and I'm here on behalf of the fire department to speak on 10B, which is Steve Berry's lease at Scow Bay. And we're not opposed to this. Our only concern is the proximity to our training tower. And we, between where he's proposing the lease and our training tower, we also have an underground tank. And then we have a structure that is portable, so we could move it, provided the harbor people allow us to move it somewhere else in that vicinity. So that's our only concern, and then keeping in mind that our burn tower can't be moved, and we do use it for training. So if that's going, the smoke or heat will affect whatever Mr. Berry is doing at his thing. So I just want it on the record. We're not opposed to it. We just want to make sure the proximity is going to be acceptable for training. So
Okay. It's been noted in the record, this concern by the fire department. And Sandy Dixon, questions?
Is this the time where we could ask Steve a question?
I'm
I
sure.
can speak next.
Sandy,
Raise my hand.
Let's
okay, go ahead.
hold our
Okay,
questions for
okay,
Sandy
sure.
at this point. Do you have a question
Sandy,
for
what's the
Sandy?
distance approximately from here to there?
I haven't measured, and I tried to use the scale at the bottom, but that doesn't even
Right.
fit the scale that was used on here, so it's hard to tell.
25 feet, especially with the chemicals and things like that he has, do you think that'd be too far? What would you recommend the distance for you for fire and?
I'd have to go out and measure. Our building is here. The burn tower is obviously on our fire station side, and
But
then
this is the burn tower, correct?
on this side, the smaller side,
Right.
is the burn tower, and then this is our training tower. So there will be that separation. We have an underground water tank here, which can't sustain any weight, and we use it for pump testing. And then on the other side of that is a movable structure, which requires a very large forklift that we could move somewhere else, so that Mr. Berry could have enough room. But we have to put it somewhere. So the harbor staff or whoever's making those decisions has to allow us to move the building somewhere else.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Quick question,
Yes.
is the area over the tank where that tank is now marked out so that people know not to, okay.
No,
So
which
that
is
would
why
be
we
something
put,
that would
which
have
is
to
why
be
we put
addressed.
that training building there between,
Okay.
so it's between our training tower and our portable building.
Okay,
And that way people can't drive across it.
okay.
And so that's why we parked it there.
Yeah, I was just curious if it is, if the training building is to be moved, then that would have to be marked out.
Yes, absolutely.
So that people couldn't come pull in
Yes.
there and park vehicles on top and cause all kinds of problems.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, we're not opposed to it. We just want to make sure that there's enough clearance.
Yeah.
So, and that our training tower, burn building
So
won't
these-
interfere with what he's
These
doing.
concerns should probably be written into the lease so that they're addressed.
Well,
Yeah.
especially, I'm curious if any of the vapors will sink, especially, sink on down.
Right.
Because you're gonna be using fiberglass and other chemicals, correct? And those can be flammable
Well,
and
and
hazardous?
yeah, there'd have to be a concern if you're doing testing and he's got
Right.
vapors in the air, that could be a major issue.
Yeah.
But there
And-
could, it could be have to, a time period of dissipation too,
Yeah.
And he did come to the fire department to talk to us.
Yeah.
But we didn't go out with a tape measure or anything. So I just found out about this meeting this morning, so I thought I would come
Yeah,
and
we just need to make
put
sure
that on the
those-
record.
Those concerns are in the lease, so they're addressed, so that there's not an issue.
Steve, the way I understand this building is the hazardous materials and the paints and stuff like that, are they gonna be in a separate locker or something like that? So we couldn't have a problem with the training? Because they are gonna be, are they gonna be on the opposite
They're
side?
gonna be on the opposite side and as far back as I can get them in a.
Towards the creek?
Connex or a, container van.
Time
Okay.
out just a minute before questions. Let's let Sandy go back. If you're, do you have any
Right.
other?
I did not.
discussions or
If you guys have
for Sandy?
questions, and we'd be happy to go out with a tape measure and
Uh-huh,
whatever. Yeah, because we're not opposed to it. We just want to be safe. So,
right.
Yeah.
So there's a few little safety concerns to be added to the lease from our understanding? Okay,
Yes.
thanks. So
Thank
the
you.
next visitor related to agenda items, I guess,
I'm Steve.
come,
Okay.
state your name and.
I'm Steve Barry,
Yeah,
and I've been looking at this opportunity for a few years now of putting in a portable building. It's just like the ones in Wrangell. It'll be set on 2 container vans, well, actually 4 containers, 2 high on each side. And so you can get up to a 40-foot, maybe, the length will be 45 foot, and I haven't decided completely on the width because of, the land I'm getting is 50 feet wide, but I gotta leave a certain amount of land on each side to get around and get in and out of, as a buffer between both myself, the fire department, and John Murgis, who's got this other, where he's gotta get boats in and out of. I did talk to the fire department because, I know they do testing out there, and I've been part of it when they've done the marine testing and stuff like that. And I would just agree, if they were gonna be doing any kind of testing, I won't be spraying or painting or working in the building that day. As much as I'd like to say there would be no fiberglass, cause I'm itching right now, there's gonna be some fiberglass. It would probably be done by other contractors, because at this point in my life, I don't care to deal with it anymore, only on my own boat. And the paints that I use are the same things that they use in Wrangell. I'd be putting down plastic to make sure it doesn't absorb into the ground. actually double plastic. Once you put down, the only way you can do it up here is you put down a layer of plastic, and then you put down a second layer, you do all your sanding, you roll up that second layer, and then you paint so that the dust that you've sanded doesn't go right back in your paint job. All the stuff, all my chemicals, and which is mostly thinners and paints, will be in, like I said, the container on the far side. I've got two 20-foot containers, and there'll be two more that go on top of that, but I don't know how I'll be able to use those, if at all.
So when you're not using them, they're gonna go into a container.
Oh, yes.
And
Oh,
so
yeah.
this building that you're doing, you're gonna be putting two containers here, and the ends, both ends are gonna be open, so,
No, the back end will be with more containers blocking it off.
okay.
So it'll be,
Yeah, because there's a creek back there, I'm just thinking of odors just dissipating.
no,
that.
it shouldn't even affect the creek, because I should be
I'm not
far
worried
enough.
about that, I was worried
Yeah.
more about where the vapors are going.
Yeah, the vapors drop right onto the plastic usually. It's, our state hasn't come up with any requirements for washdown systems or spray booths yet. And, I'm sure someplace out there will happen, but hopefully not in the next 5 or 10 years while I'm still doing it. And I don't know that they'll be doing it for these kind of paints anyway, because these paints are already approved for California, and so, it's a matter of, and you can't pour that stuff on the ground anyway, it just doesn't, I'm a fisherman too, so.
Question, Dave?
Yeah, have you, the other person that leased space out there, John, he's okay with where you're putting everything? and
Yes.
That's all,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I
And
spoke to John.
what I'm doing won't create much more than what's already being done out there in the wide open.
Right.
I spoke to
You know,
John, and John said it was a plus for his operation.
Yeah, was my understanding too. I just wanted to make
It's
sure
one of those
Steve
things
felt
that,
too. You're right,
it's one of those things that they have plans for that area out there to improve it for
Right.
this kind of work.
Mhm.
And I'm just looking to help get it going there. One of the containers I have has a toilet and a shower in it, but there's no sewer there just as yet. So what I'm waiting for, and I may have to move these buildings, that's why, one reason you get portable buildings is it's easier to get around the building permits and stuff, and the other reason is if you have to move them, and I know that they could change. What the plan is, the layout there, maybe I might have to move. Ideally, I'd like to have Mergis's, where he's putting boats, because it's a little bit better with the wind, and, you got a little more of a buffer, but he's got it there first, plus the electricity's in there now too, but like I said to Glow and the Harbor Department, whatever it takes to move, if I have to move, but eventually I'd like a septic system, I'd like to get water in there. In the meantime, there's a public toilet on the other side of the road, on John's property, so.
Donna, did you have a question about?
So what I'm curious, because I'm trying to remember where the markers are for John's, and just, on the west side of the building that he has there, it's what, about 100 feet that his lease goes?
The west side or the
The
east
west
side?
side, towards the Narrows,
Towards the Narrows his goes down,
to
Well-
the jetty?
not quite to the jetty, there's a little wood building and it goes maybe 50 feet beyond that.
What I'm looking at is, I'm just curious if it can be done, because it is a better spot there on the west side of that building there for him to put that building there and lined up. Can there be something modified with John, if he was willing to kind of like trade the land lease for close to the fire department, so there's nothing flammable close to there, and put him on the other end? Would John be willing to do, do you understand what I'm saying? Because I've seen John store.
I haven't gotten much input from him on that. I've kind of thrown it at him off on the side, unless you want to give me your property or we can trade property.
No, I know just a section of it, not, do you understand what I'm talking about at all?
Mhm.
Because it would be better for the way that the air flows. It would get it away from the fire department, and I've seen John in the past store boats there where you're planning on going, and that would get rid of both problems.
Yeah, right now they've got crab pots and
Right,
trucks but yeah, it'd be way better for me because of the windage. One of my big things I've been watching for the last couple of years is windage down there, storms, how the storms, sometimes
Correct,
that wind.
because it
is-
does, it will take it
I'd be
right
a
on
lot
out,
better
because where
off there.
he's at, they're wanting to go, what I'm concerned about is not the creek for the creek's sake, but where those odors and where the smoke goes, it hits that creek and hits everybody's house up to there, and I'm concerned about, I do know a few years back when people painted there and stuff like that, those odors went right up into that area, into the creek, right over to Reed's property. But if you're out further
Yeah.
towards the jetty, it would just take it out and go out.
The smoke you're talking about from them,
No, it was somebody spraying paint, it was about like, whatever.
oh, you're talking about the
There was
overspray or
a
the
few
spray
over-
mist.
There were
from
some
the-
people spraying.
Yeah.
But that would be modifying John's lease too.
And that would have to, he'd have to
Yeah,
sign.
It's just an idea out there.
Yeah,
and you've gone before the harbor board, right?
Yep.
This has all been approved by the harbor board already,
yes.
and
It's just-
it's a great idea, don't it? And I think it needs to be noted that possible land moving or
Swapping
do we
portion of
wanna
it-
say swapping or
Yeah.
Relining it, you know, as to,
realigning is a better word than
Yeah.
swapping.
Yeah,
Looking-
realign.
Looking at the map here, is it a possibility that instead of taking the piece that's behind the training tower, you took the piece that's opposite it over on the side toward the jetty?
that's what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
that's-
That's
But
what,
not the property that's already leased.
there isn't that much there out by
Okay.
the jetty, because people do pull out onto the jetty there, and it would
Okay.
block
On the
it.
jetty, man, I'd be blown away and,
Yeah,
you
you
know,
wouldn't
that,
wanna
that
be
you
out
got,
there.
I'm missing all that
Okay.
buffer zone from the,
And
I
when
see.
it does high tides, it does come up and spray,
Yeah.
see.
I had
if it gets
looked
too
at
far.
that one for,
Okay.
like I said, I've checked it out for the last couple of years, when the storms come in and kinda thinking.
That's why I was saying, here's the building,
Yeah.
and there's a section there that's just perfect,
Mhm.
and that's what John's leasing, and it's equivalent to what he has over here, and he is stored there, so it'd be nice to realign it, move it there.
Yeah.
It solves the fire department, it gets everything out, but you'd have
I
to
see.
talk to John,
Yeah.
and then get an amendment done with John with the harbor, and I think that's solves it all.
So are you willing to talk to?
Oh, I'll go
John
talk to
with
him
this
and we'll see what he said, the other thing is my lease would be a 5-year lease. I was trying to get a 10-year lease, but they don't like to do that. His is a 5-year lease. At the end of that 5 years, maybe we could change it. I don't wanna walk on him or anybody else. I'm trying to work with everybody out there, so we can get in something that gives people a place to work on their boats. I don't necessarily plan on being in that building all the time painting boats. I'd like to be able to have people that wanna do woodwork come in if they wanna, put their boat in there for a couple of weeks. It's just saving everybody a whole lot of headache. And right now, I'm doing shrink wrap out there, so I end up shrink wrapping their boats so they can do exactly the same thing. Get out of the wind and rain and do fiberglass on their boat, or do, usually I teach them how to do the glass work, and I'd get away from them as quick as I can, but it's all within my containment up in the yard. That's the other thing I'd be doing there in the fall, is shrink wrapping the boats, have them bring them in with a trailer so I can shrink wrap them without rain, and then they can take them and store them.
Dave?
Madam Chair, what do we need to do now? Do we need a motion to
This-
approve our portion of this, or is
No,
this?
this is visitors' views related to
Okay,
agenda, so
okay.
we don't take any action here. Donna, was there another thing that you wanted to bring up? I thought so.
He already mentioned the outhouse toilet thing up at Murgus, so the other question was, this land section here, this right-of-way 40-foot still belongs to DOT?
Yep.
Okay, have you contacted DOT for that?
They're
Not
way
trying to
over
take-
on that,
Yeah.
on the,
Not trying to take it from the, I'm just curious about, have you contacted them on that? Just-
I don't think they'll budge on that.
Okay.
yeah, I think that,
I'm just trying
I
to
don't
get it
think-
away
I
from
think
the
there's
fire
some-
department building. It's just, I'm concerned about the hazardous materials and the way it lays down and where it goes into the creek there, and it just settling in there is my biggest concern.
well, I
And
think
this
with,
is his view, as related to agenda items.
Yeah.
yeah, I think with the connexes that I'm putting in the back and the way I'm gonna protect it, I'm pretty sure there shouldn't be any leakage. It should be well contained within the building, because the back of the building's got a full drape.
That's what
Right.
I'm concerned about. I'm more concerned about it being concentrated than diluted. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
in-
but I don't, understand how it would get into the creek that way.
But I'm not, I'm talking about the gas fumes
Mhm.
themselves, that's what I'm, you know, 'cause a lot of them settle.
Yep.
That's the only thing I'm concerned about.
Okay. Any other questions or concerns for Steve during this discussion? Okay. Thank you,
Good enough?
Steve. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're on agenda item 5, visitors' views related to agenda items. Do we have any more visitors' views related to agenda items?
If
Yes,
you have
Rick.
any questions on the plats and each of those,
Maybe under unfinished business when we bring them up again, unless. Okay, 6, visitors' views unrelated to any of the agenda items.
Who would like to talk?
Okay, Katrina and Aaron
Madam
Miller.
Chair?
Oh, yes.
Is this related to your appeal?
Yeah.
It's
It wouldn't be proper to hear from one side. We should schedule a public hearing, I've been told by the borough attorney, to inform all the affected parties, and they should be able to be present when any kind of testimony is given to the members.
Okay.
Okay, so it's not related to the appeal. Aaron
Oh,
and I
please
wanted.
state your name and.
Katrina Miller, 586 Midcock Highway, and Aaron Miller, same residence. Well, you guys know what happened. And we wanted to know about amending our conditional use permit, or if we need to go a new route and get a whole new conditional use permit.
This is just unrelated to any of our agenda items, Leo?
If you increase the footprint of what was granted, you'd have to start over.
Okay.
Much like a variance, if you say, oh, I wanna get, like we did with the Meeks. You wanna get a little closer to the property
Oh.
line, you have to re-notify people because it's increasing the impact.
Is that
Okay.
with your question?
So, Aaron and I would like, I guess we would like to get the ball rolling on this. And are you guys gonna do meetings this summer, or is this a fall thing, or?
We will do a June meeting, I think.
There might be one at the end of May, we'll get to that one, for this appeal.
Okay.
Is that enough time, Leo, the end of May,
To do what?
for us to apply for a conditional use permit and
Well, if you
to go
apply
through
for
the
one,
hearing?
they could accept the application at that meeting and schedule a public hearing for either June or, it gets a little harder to get a quorum in the summer, but, get people in town, we can meet, I think, with 3 days' notice, Karen? Does that sound right?
Is that?
Yeah,
answer your questions?
we were just kinda wondering, well, we have 90 or 60 days to get our stuff off, right?
Yeah, pending a fine.
Okay,
Yeah,
we
whatever.
can't discuss that according to the attorney.
So I guess we wanted to start the process, but we don't, in the meantime, wanna move all of our gear. So, I'm just putting this out there.
That should be discussed at the public hearing, when
Yeah.
all parties involved are
So I
present.
can't ask a question on this here?
No,
Okay, got it,
Please
just wanna make sure.
don't.
I won't.
Okay, thank you, Katrina and
Wanna
Aaron
check.
Miller.
I have the forms whenever you want them.
Aaron, do you wanna grab one?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, not on me, I'm sorry.
At his office?
Yeah.
Okay, that brings us to number 7, report of staff members.
Well, I was gonna report on the comp plan action, but I was hoping we could do that under discussion items and maybe move this other stuff along, so
Yeah,
that that discussion might
let's
last a
do
while.
that.
Yeah.
Put that under here. Okay, that brings us to 8A, unfinished business. Now is where we decide some action and have some more discussion. PZ 14-05, a public hearing for a request from First Bank for a replat subdivision of lots 2, 3, and a portion of lot 4 for Tidelands Addition subdivision of ATS 9, and a portion of lots 1, 2, 3 of block 25 of USS 1252 and tract A of the Hammer and Wecon subdivision. So discussion, and did you have some input under this one?
only if there's questions.
Only if there's questions for Troy. Okay, discussion, Dave.
One quick question, Rick. So all they're doing is they're just cleaning up their lots, right? They're not proposing
Well, no,
any,
it's kind of a,
any new action. That was the thing that sort of been explained to me.
yeah, this is Rick Braun. They have all these little pieces, okay? And they're combining them and then re-subdividing to separate the house or the building that's on Harbor Way
Right.
from the bank property.
Okay,
And then maintaining sufficient parking for the Harbor Way building and creating an extra 3 lots for First Bank for employees on, I guess that's Joa Street? Yeah, Joa Street there.
So that's the 3 parking spaces over on that
Yeah.
land or for bank
For
employees.
bank employees.
I
yeah.
see.
so their intent is not build a structure. I guess my concern was the parking.
Yeah, there's
Okay.
sufficient parking. In fact, I think, didn't I show it in that drawing? One of
Yes.
the,
Mhm.
yeah,
It's squeezed down pretty thin on these, but
yeah,
yeah, along Joa, that's all designated parking.
yeah.
Any other questions or discussions, concerns? Okay, we're ready for a motion.
I motion that we pass it.
I'll second.
It's been motioned and second that we approve of the replat subdivision of lots 2 and 3, portion of lot 4 of the Thailand subdivision of ATS 9, portion of lots 1, 2, and 3 of block 25 of USS 1252 tract A of the Hammer and Recon subdivision. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Okay, that brings us on to 8B. Steve Berry Scow Bay lease proposal, PZ 14-40. And I think we have some concerns we wanna put into the minutes, but would this have to go back to the harbor board then?
Depends on how involved, and also this is a recommendation to the city council, that isn't a commission-only action.
So it would go to 2 different places or come before. Well, after we discuss this and we make amendments or suggestions, what happens to the, Steve Berry Scow Bay lease proposal?
Well, that'd be up to you if you want them to come back with an answer, or if you just wanna put your recommendations to the city council, or the Borough Assembly, excuse me, and have them at least know that that's a consideration.
A consideration,
I
okay.
think whatever
So what would we like to do?
whatever makes it quicker for him, with summer
Yeah.
coming. I'd prefer putting he's satisfied my comment about the outhouse, things. I would open it where he can go speak to John and maybe have a realignment, because I'm concerned about the location close to the fire building. And, I think that would solve it, and he can do that with John in the harbor and stuff.
Is Sandy
Was Sandy okay with that?
concerned with where this is shown now? You're just telling us to be careful about,
I think it would be, if we could go out with a tape measure to make sure there's enough distance, I think it would be fine. And the fumes problem, when Mr. Berry came to the fire station before, he talked about coordinating with us, if we were gonna do some training out there. And granted, we don't always know ahead of time, maybe that morning we know that we're gonna do something that night. And it's not like we're out there every night by any means, so, and I guess the only issue with, the land swap or exchange or readjustment, whatever you're talking about, is I wonder if John will be able to park the boats like he needs to, for his business if you switch those, parcels. But I would be happy to go out and, with Mr. Berry and, walk around and look at stuff and see, cause again, to
I'm
scale,
open for
it's not to
whatever he
scale.
comes there.
Maybe it'd be a good idea for you to go out, with
Right.
Mr. Berry
Yeah.
and John, all 3 go out
Yeah.
and talk about it.
That's
and say,
who I,
Yeah,
that's,
how's this
gonna
that's
work
the
out?
parties, that's the parties who I feel that
Yeah.
should do it. It's whatever those 3 parties come to agreement with, I'm happy with.
can we approve this
Mhm.
before that?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
We can do
just write that in it?
we can do that, make a motion and then add with these considerations is what I wrote down. Realignment, close proximity to the fire department training tower and coordinating with the fire department and John Burgess for vapors and fumes. Does that sound?
That's good, but the chair can't make a motion.
Pardon?
Sorry, the chair can't make a motion.
Right, I'm not making a
It's
motion,
it's
I'm,
recommendation.
I'm
Okay,
giving
that's
you
all we're doing.
some
Gotcha.
considerations.
We're just making recommendations.
Yeah, consideration, I put it down as considerations, do you want, you discuss, and whoever makes the motion, decide if you want to say considerations, recommendations,
I prefer recommendations.
Those would be in
realignment.
the minutes, wouldn't they, Karen? Yeah, if they're in the minutes, then the assembly would know. These guys can report on it when they go to the final step.
Correct.
Okay, I make a motion that we approve the lease with the recommendations as noted in the minutes.
I second it.
This would be that the Borough Assembly grants the lease.
Right, that the
Right.
Borough Assembly
Assembly
grants
grants
the
the
lease,
lease.
right, correct.
I second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that the Borough Assembly grant a lease to Steve Berry, Scow Bay lease proposal with recommendations about realignment, close proximity to the fire department training tower, and coordinating between three parties, Steve Berry, John Burgess, and the fire department for fumes and vapors.
And locality? That-
And locality.
Sorry about that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. All right, that brings us to 8C, PZ number 14-07.
Thank you.
Thanks,
I'm gonna
Steve.
go back to work, so.
Thanks for coming. Nice to meet you. The public hearing on a request for Mary Lee Jones for a replat of lots 1 and 2 of Block 2 of the Frederick Sound subdivision, parcel number 0000-100-3161 and 0000-100-3163, located at 607 Sandy Beach Road. Discussion?
There's a typo there. It shouldn't, we already held a public hearing. That should be consideration
Oh,
request.
should be consideration.
I missed that
Sorry.
somehow. Sorry.
All right, consideration. I like that word. Discussion, questions? We have Rick here. Dave?
I make a motion that we approve the replat of lot 1s and 2 of block 2 of the Frederick Sound subdivision.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve of the consideration request from Mary Lee Jones on the lots 1 and 2, Frederick Sound Division at 607 Sandy Beach Road. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? The motion carries. We are on to new business, and under new business, we have A and B. A, first, the appeal of a decision by a building official scheduling a public hearing.
Yes, Commission received an appeal of a letter I sent to the Millers saying that they were out of compliance with their conditional use permit. It should have been utilized within 1 year, and I set a date for them to remove all the fishing gear. That kind of alluded to some of that. Talking with the borough attorney, she suggested that the commission set a public hearing for May 29th, which is a Thursday. And this is open all day except between 1 and 3. So it could be after 3 or before 1. We could schedule a public hearing if the commission so desires.
What day of the week is that?
That's
Thursday.
Thursday.
Thursday?
And what time?
Anytime except for between 1 and 3.
I'm probably not gonna be available that day. I have to fly to Sitka that day, and I don't know. It can be anywhere from 10 in the morning till 3:30 in the afternoon, depending upon what happens.
Well, with a formal appeal, there's a 30-day window for the borough to respond. So
the borough to respond?
Well, to set up the public hearing, get out all the notices, you need 10 days to notify property owners, and you have to act on an appeal, at least have the public hearing within 30 days of the date it was filed, so.
And the appeal goes to the planning commission, even though it was a borough assembly decision?
Well, they're appealing my decision that they were out of compliance and they should remove the fishing gear in a timely manner. And that goes to you. Now, your decision can be appealed back to the Borough Assembly.
Could I make a suggestion? Could we just forward this to the Borough Assembly and let them deal with it? Because there seems to be a
Conflict.
difference of opinion between us and them on what should happen here. And I don't wanna waste our time doing something that they're just gonna turn around and do something different. And since we're strictly an advisory board, then maybe we should just cut to the chase and let them deal with this.
And we did spend 2 years, I
Yeah, we
have
spent a
reflected
lot of
on-
time
Right.
on
on
this
it.
Yeah.
issue.
So I would make a motion.
If you could call a 5-minute break, I'll trot downstairs and ask the city clerk or borough clerk.
Yeah, well, I'd fine, but I don't, you know, I mean, if I have to deal with this again, I mean, I think it's, as an advisory board, our advice wasn't taken the first time around. And there would be really no point in us, because I'm gonna advise that we allow them to have a conditional use permit. My intention would be to advise the city council that they be allowed a conditional use permit equal to what the zoning requirements were of what we decided the first
Correct.
time
I
around.
haven't changed my
And I haven't
decision.
changed my opinion on that, and so it would just be wasting our time.
Could you call a 5-minute break? We could sign
Yes.
some plats and I
Yeah.
could just run downstairs.
Yes, we have a
Sure.
5-minute
Yeah.
break.
Thank you,
Thanks.
because I personally haven't changed.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
I mean,
and the original variance, I would also
The website.
yeah.
Oh, should I?
No.
Karen did most of the speaking.
that 5-minute break.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I talked to the city clerk and the borough manager. By ordinance, anything I do is appealable to the planning commission. They are appealing to the planning commission. You haven't seen the appeal yet,
Right,
so you don't really know what they're asking for. So
correct.
you should schedule a public hearing.
Okay, I'll be available after the 2nd of June,
Second.
which is a Monday.
In our 30-day deadline, since they filled the paperwork on the 11th, the deadline is the 12th.
Yeah, but I'm gonna be out of town. I've got to go visit her, keep an eye on my folks for 10 days, so.
Are you available on the 27th of May?
No, I'm not available, from, man, I could,
She thought the 29th was best because it gives enough time to give them a reasonable amount of time to respond, and we can get the letters out.
We did a head count and we don't have people
We don't have a
available,
quorum.
people available on the 29th.
I'll be here up through the 5th of June, but then I'm gonna be traveling
I'll be here.
until
that's
July.
too, Till the 19th of June, and then back in July.
I don't plan on being gone at all.
What was the other
Where
date,
would
the
I go?
11th?
23, Jim's here. So
Well,
it's
how about
4.
June, is there 4?
Yeah, Jim's here, Otis, Chris,
I can
No.
come by phone. it's kinda up in the air for me on the 29th, but I
on the
can,
29th.
29th
Will
I
you
can be
here,
phone.
Jim?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so there's 4 of us for the 29th.
It's good enough to make a recommendation or
We can
a
do it.
decision.
and depending upon what time you have the meeting at and whether I fly on Harris Air or Alaskan Airlines, I
You
might
wanna
be
do it
available
earlier in
too.
the day?
Who knows?
And by phone?
Last week I was supposed
I
to
can be
leave at
phone.
10, I didn't leave till 4:30, so.
Weather matters.
No,
No?
no.
I don't think we can establish a quorum by phone.
No.
We need 5 for quorum?
4, but if you phone in, then
On the 5th.
We have 4 for the 29th.
The 5th won't work because she really wants me to be here. I'm
But the
one who wrote
29th
the letter.
works,
The
May
29th would work.
and there's 4. There's Otis, Chris, myself, and Jim.
Oh, okay, I misunderstood, sorry.
That's 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm the 5th on the phone.
Okay.
And I could be a maybe.
29th would be
And
perfect.
maybe,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You think
Is it-
you might be better off if it was morning, or?
our afternoon for maybes.
So we're looking at the 4th?
29th of May. We're back to the 29th.
It wouldn't bother me if it was 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, well, actually, 4 would work best for me, but.
I can be here at 4.
The sun is up.
Yeah, I don't plan it around me, but if I don't know, I either have to fly out on the morning jet or I have to fly on here. So and I can't do it early because I got to work. So
You can't or can?
I don't know. You're asking me a question I can't answer right now. So I don't plan it
We have
around me.
work.
I know, but 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock, 7 a.m.? Anybody for 7 a.m.?
7 a.m. is fine.
Whatever.
I mean,
Jim,
Woo.
are you up for 7 a.m.?
Not particularly, but I will.
Well, we have all
I'm
mornings
up at
available,
6,
so.
no big deal.
Okay, we could make it for 8, but I'm just thinking if he has to go on the morning jet or just
well, I
possibly.
have work to do before I get on the morning jet. I have to. So I'm just saying. Yeah, I mean, make it 9 o'clock. If I can make it, I can make it. That's a reasonable hour.
I'm gonna say
That
8.
gives me time to yell at the crew before I come.
If you
so
do it at 8, I may be able to do it.
She may be able to do it at 8. I'm gonna say 8 a.m. And can we put a limit of time on this?
Yes,
So we could say it's open from 8 to 9. Or
you
8
could
to 10.
limit people's, you'd have 3 minutes to make your argument, or,
Are we trying to get public comment? That's my question.
yeah.
Okay.
But I've seen that happen, if
We
there's
do.
a room full of people or whatever, it's,
Right.
you know. 3
So,
minutes.
I mean, reasonably, if you're trying to get public comment and as many people as possible, we need to make it at a time when reasonably we could get as many
That'd be in the
people as
evening,
show.
wouldn't it?
Possibly. I mean, that'd be my recommendation. What if we did it the evening of the 28th? I'll still be in town. We could do it late.
That would work for me.
28th.
Jim?
Okay.
Lona, are you?
28th better.
28th works for
What do we
you?
got on the 28th?
The library board from 6:30 p.m. until 9.
Ooh.
Okay.
What about 4 to 6?
That's what I was going to say.
Okay. Is 4 to 6 not a good time for you?
I don't know. I'm working that day. I
Yeah.
don't have a crystal ball.
Well,
Donna?
if we had 4 or 5, that'd be great.
Yeah, Donna, are you available at 4 to 6 on the 28th?
Well, I guess my point was if we can't do it in the evening, then we might as well do it at 9 o'clock the next morning, because the only reason to have it in the evening would be so that people that were working, could attend. If
Now, you
that's
can
the
always
intent.
submit your thoughts in writing, and your members will be copied, so.
But we tried to do that for like a year and a half with this.
It's not a perfect system, but I
Okay,
think
well,
that's,
okay, I'm just pointing out.
that when the letters go out, that's in the letter, if you read it.
Yeah, right, okay.
Okay.
So
Are
what-
there any recommendations? Do we need a motion for this, to set this up, public hearing?
A motion to schedule the public
To
hearing, sure.
schedule the public hearing?
I-
Thursday morning?
Thursday morning at 9
Thursday
o'clock?
morning, the 29th at 9 o'clock, okay?
Yeah, coffee and donuts.
9 a.m. Okay. Second?
I
I
second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we have a public hearing for the Planning and Zoning Commission, the appeal from Aaron and Katrina Miller on May 29th at 9 a.m. Shall we give it an ending time?
9:30.
Oh, you're more gracious than I am.
We've got to run it longer than that.
To 11, 9 to 11?
Wait a
Is that
minute,
too
why
many
do we wanna
hours?
have, we were
9
gonna
to
sit here for
10?
2 hours if nobody shows up at 9 o'clock?
Well, you wouldn't have to.
I'd
Would
say,
have
I'd
to.
say an hour.
9 to 10?
9 to
Let's
10.
Make it, we amend it, all right. The motion is a public hearing for the Aaron and Katrina Miller, May 29th, for 1 hour, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m.
Can I ask who made the motion and who seconded?
He seconded it,
Otis seconded it.
and
Dave?
Dave made it.
Okay, thank you. I lost that.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Under duress.
It's approved. We have a public hearing scheduled for Miller's, May 29th at 9 to 10 a.m. Okay, that takes care of 9A, new business. We have 9B, timber sale.
Yes, I have been approached by numerous of my neighbors. I had contacted the university with some questions about the timber sale that they're proposing on Midcoff Island. If you guys don't know where it's at, it's right smack on the Narrows. It was originally state land that was originally set aside for rural residential lottery land selection.
Is that where the markers for timber cutting markers are way out Woodpecker Road?
Approximately
No.
what mile markers are?
No, this is the one I'm talking about. It's the on the Narrows. It's right across from Burn Island.
Yeah, well, this is looking down at the Narrows.
Mm.
If you
Talking
go
about
out
the ones
Woodpecker,
up on top?
yeah,
There's Forest Service sale up top.
Yeah,
that's
up top.
being
That's
awarded
different.
today, supposedly.
Right.
okay.
Yeah, it's a different sale. This is this land's right on the Narrows. I mean, it's
Right up, down on the,
It is on the Narrows.
Okay.
Yes.
This is the University
Yes.
of Alaska land.
Right. It was originally state selection land, and then the university received this parcel when they received a bunch of other parcels from the state before we became a borough. It's the narrowest part of Wrangell Narrows, actually.
is it close to that place that was logged
Yeah.
20 years ago that's for sale now?
No, that's farther south of the Narrows. You know where Burn Island's at?
Yes.
Okay, Burn Island, Keene Island,
Yep.
straight across, right on the
Okay.
beach, right there. Okay, right. It actually, and it abuts state, well, it abuts private property that was disposed by the state. And I wrote a letter, had some comments, asked for some feedback. They sent me a certified letter back, said, thank you for your comments. We will consider them, but no feedback. My concern was this will have a big impact, particularly in that what I'm talking about now is not the selection that's out the road. I'm not as familiar with that. I know where it's at, but I haven't received any comments about that. This is a whole bunch of questions were asked. One, if you had a major timber sale right in the middle of Sandy Beach, one, it's going to be very noisy. One of the concerns was, well, what time can they start cutting? What time do they have to stop? Can they fly a helicopter with a sling load of logs over our house? Are there any restrictions or any noise abatement thing that they have to do, since they are doing this smack dab in the middle of a subdivision with people living out there? What are their intentions? I mean, the university land, do we, as a planning and zoning commission, do we want to have any say or any input on how any of this property is developed? I know we can't have any comments, of course, on the Forest Service, but there's a public process that is quite adequate, I think, for people to have their concerns addressed on any of the national forest lands that's within the borough. It's a very established process. I know both parties have a lot of issues with it, but from my personal opinion, I felt that it's been responsive in years past. Well, this one, there is no response. They haven't come to us and said, hey, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. How can we make this happen? My concern would be that they at least come to town and tell us what they're planning on doing and how they're planning on doing it, and have at least a minimum amount of dialogue with the community to say, okay, this is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to do it. We're going to put our barge here, we're going to fly the logs on it. We're going to make for sure that there's no issues with people getting logs dropped on their houses when they're slinging them.
Well, they haven't even said it's helicopter logged, have they?
Yeah, they have.
Oh, they have?
Yeah.
Have they awarded the
I believe so.
Logging? That's, I think I heard on the radio.
Yeah, they have
Yeah,
awarded it,
they've awarded
Sea
it.
Alaska
Sea Alaska.
got one contract and Alcan got the other one.
And which one is this?
Sea Alaska,
Sea Alaska?
right. Yeah, it'll have to be helicopter because there's no roads.
Bill Road.
Yeah, but yeah, they possibly could, I don't know.
I thought there was.
But there'd be no spot for an LTF because it's like for a log dump because, I don't know how they get the logs from the parcel onto their barge there. It'd be difficult because it's the narrowest part of the narrows. They're having a hard time. I don't even know how they're gonna safely put a barge there to sling the logs on.
Yeah, I don't know. I would think that they
It doesn't
could,
look like there's much room there for anything.
No, it's, I mean, it's.
they could just build a road right down in the water and then tow it someplace to
Right. Yeah, it's,
each bundle.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a.
Yeah,
You got a lot more experience in that than I do. But my understanding was that Columbia Helicopter was gonna do the logging. And it's it's an export sale, but,
To Asia, wasn't it?
I
think
guess
heard it.
I don't
Is there
have
right here?
a problem with
Yeah.
export sales, but
yeah, it'd be this area right in through here.
we export our fish.
This
Why
area
can't
going
we
this
export our
direction.
timber?
Okay,
Yeah.
and the homes
get
are
more money.
located, what, up in this area?
Well, yeah, it abuts private property that goes all the way up to Beach here, and then this is all private property over here, and then of course,
So you're saying that they would have to put a barge out here somewhere, but not
they,
in
they had, I think they had,
a mooring?
they were gonna try and moor the barge down here, which is at the southern end of their sail.
Okay. But there, in this section from here to here, is there homes?
No, everywhere where they're logging, there are no
So
homes.
basically, so what I'm, from experience over in Kupernoff, I know a few times there's been helicopters going over, and one time I called and I said, I really don't want to complain, but I don't like looking at my skylight and seeing that. And then I was told there was particular laws that the helicopters couldn't go over
Right.
home sections, they have to go around them. And so.
Well, the question that I had specifically asked, are there any noise abatement ordinances in the city of Petersburg that would prevent them from moving logs or from, cutting,
So you're talking about, I don't remember if the terms correctly, hoot owl hours where they can't work at nighttime?
right.
Hoot owl
No,
is
it's-
for fire.
It's
For
for fire,
fire,
right,
but,
yeah.
but doesn't that make it where you only work at nighttime?
Well, high humidity times is what it
Okay.
amounts to.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's early in the morning and
So, I mean, it's just an item for discussion. I know there's some people that don't have a problem with logging. I know some people that thinks it's great. That's not what I'm talking about. I guess what I'm talking about here is, do we have any, there's planning and zoning care. Should we have any input?
I think we care.
Okay, but
Yeah.
my question is, should we have any input on something like this? I would have appreciated them to at least come to us, or at a minimum, the borough assembly, and laid out their plans and said, hey, this is what we're gonna do, this is how we're gonna do it. And, at least listen to some of the concerns that some of the affected landowners in the area are gonna have.
Was this initiated and started before we became a borough?
The sale, no. The first time I read about was a notice in the newspaper in March 15th.
Okay, and so we could have replied, was it in illegals at March 15th?
No,
or was
they
it
just said
an
if
article?
anybody has any comments about this, please let us know. And I wrote some comments,
So we as a group should have said something then?
probably.
If it's been sold, I would think it's out of mental health's hands unless they.
Yeah, universities. Oh, I don't know whether the contract's been let or not.
Okay, I thought it said it was.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that specifically.
If it's been let, I would think whatever terms are in the contract, that's what he's gotta go by, but we could talk to the logger and say, hey,
Right.
but
Which
Yeah.
one is Sea Alaska? Is there an ordinance in our borough about?
There is no noise ordinance.
There's no noise ordinance.
Is there any,
Flying ordinances?
there must be a noise
There's
ordinance.
flying ones for
Well, we rented
helicopters.
the Martinson's barn down here 25 years ago, and we were paying a lot of money for it for the day, so we were working 24 hours a day, and the second night we were in there hammering and banging, the cops came and said, either you shut yourself down or we're gonna shut you down.
But were you in the service area or in the just?
We were in the barn, and the city came out there and said, lights off, fellas. 9 o'clock is as late as you can work.
Well, when they were driving the piling for First Bank, they were starting at like 4 or 5 in the morning, and I talked to them in the spirit of the community. But looking through the municipal code, I couldn't find anything that regulates noise.
Okay, maybe they spoofed us.
God,
Right.
Sounds like it.
But the helicopter thing,
It
I would
cost an
call
extra
Wally or
$500
something like,
because it
because I
couldn't work
remember being led, and then they automatically within hours went around the houses. When I made a comment, it's like I said, I didn't want to complain, is what I told them, but I said it was just very uncomfortable, where the dogs were even losing it. Have that stuff go over
As
us.
the Planning and Zoning Commission, do we wanna write a letter to, it looks like it's been awarded to Sea Alaska, and then whoever they sublet.
Well, I don't think we can write a letter, we have to send it to the Borough Assembly,
go
right?
To the Borough Assembly.
Because location of the barge would be in.
Coast Guard.
Would be Coast Guard, has
And I
nothing.
think they've already done that.
Right, and so,
I have a feeling this might come up at the assembly meeting anyway. I mean, it was on the radio this morning.
Right.
How was it?
so the
There's
only thing
some
we can
concern.
do is the noise, or time of operation.
Well, and I just want to bring up a philosophical question. Is there anything that you can do on your property if you don't live outside of Service Area 1? Is there anything that planning and zoning has any input on?
There's state ordinances,
Yeah,
Yeah, but that doesn't mean,
and that's,
We
whoever
can
wants to enforce them.
I guess that's just a theoretical.
Only thing that doesn't apply that I'm aware of are leash laws and Title 19 zoning. But there's a lot of other things in there.
Okay.
Oh, and fireworks.
Which brings up Monday night, May 19th at 7 p.m. is the Borough Assembly meeting that we could attend and speak to, and you say it might be on the agenda, this very item?
That's the goal. It'd be nice to have a full borough assembly.
Representation. And that way we could find out a little more about it,
Okay.
timber sale.
I'll email you if it's with the agenda. This
Yeah,
logging
email all of
sale
us.
might be on there too. I don't know.
Right, yeah, I think so.
You guys get the agenda?
No,
No.
Okay.
you never get the agenda. Rob does. But I don't. Is there any more discussion on discussion item B, the timber sale? Any comments, concerns?
there's more than, when I listened to the radio, I thought it was out by the, way out the end of the road.
There's two of them.
Two of them.
There's, yeah,
Yeah, there's two. The University of Alaska has a lot of land on the south end of McCoff Island, and Columbia Helicopters is in town, doing work over on the Tonka sale. So that's why the university decided to take advantage of them being here, so that they could also log their other parcels. I mean, my concern was it's very valuable. Maybe not right now because there is a lot of residential land on the market, but it's some of the primest residential land that you can find anywhere in southeast Alaska. And it'll be very valuable for that in the future. So my concern as a resident of the state is the university will get not the value for that property that they should be receiving by just doing an export timber sale. I don't know how much they'll make off the sale. I could be completely wrong, but I think that land is going to be valuable, maybe not in 10 years, but definitely within 50 years.
Well, I would think that you could sell the land and the timber both, though.
Possibly, but it depends upon how they log it. Usually, Sea Alaska, when they've logged university land in the past, they pretty much drop all the hemlock on the ground first, and then they drop the cedar on top of it, and they pull the cedar out, and and spruce, and then they leave the hemlock decked on the ground.
Depends on what the market is.
Yeah, I understand, right, yeah, yeah, because they're doing it to make money.
I don't know what the market is now at all.
Yeah, yeah, I don't either, so I mean, it's just,
I did notice the last bunch of logs that was coming out of Tonka looked like all spruce.
yeah, right. But that sale has mainly been going down to Viking Lumber, and his market is he makes he specializes in using older growth hemlock, making fingerboards and
Okay.
Trim for windows and doors and stuff.
I was gonna compliment you on one point. It's like a lot of times people look at university or mental health land about us and them versus
Mhm.
they are part of the state. They were set aside for us as a whole, as
Mhm.
Alaskans. And sometimes if we looked at it that way of saying, hey, you know, this is a long-term investment for Alaskans, for the university or for
Right.
mental health, I think we'd get a lot more done than saying this is affecting our small community,
Mhm.
you know. That's a very good point there.
There's a comment I just soon make. I don't have a problem with them exporting it.
I don't either, and I don't have a problem with them logging if they do it right.
Yeah.
Right.
You
Well,
know,
we're
but
the same
but
place.
my concern is
Yeah.
is based upon their past practices. I don't think that's going to necessarily be what they're going to do. But I could be mistaken. I mean, they're talking about getting the volume amount that they threw out on the radio. It'd be, you know, pretty much have to remove all the timber to get that amount of volume on that.
Of course, if you don't remove it all, rest of it blows down. So.
Yeah, it's true.
Good point, and this might be an agenda item to watch for the Borough Assembly and us to explore on the radio, the newspaper, and the internet. Thanks, Dave. That brings us to 10 discussion items and the comp plan. Now, the comp plan RFP is really a good one and a good one for our community. It's a big community effort, and our understanding is the RFP will come before the Assembly, the Borough Assembly on Monday.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. That's Monday's meeting at 7 p.m.
This is the one that failed because it got 3 votes for, and you need 4 votes, and their 2 members were absent.
It's 7 p.m. on the 19th of May, correct?
Yes, Monday
Well,
night.
Is
the
it a
19th
problem
of May.
doing it from local people? Maybe.
I don't really know of anyone that.
Well, you don't know if there's any local people until you do the RFP.
Yeah, if you aren't allowed to
You know,
advertise the RFP.
Yeah, I mean, until you put the thing out on the street,
And
Right.
then
you know,
if a local person bids on it, then we know.
right.
Correct.
If you look on page 2 of the RFP, and I think you all got a copy, well, there's a good overview. And this plan is really, the proposal is for a comprehensive plan, a harbor master plan, which we're not, that very much involved, the zoning and land use, municipal land selection, and there's a land selection committee that operates on that, and can continue to operate on land selection as a new borough. It's really an inclusive process, and I think I sent you all an email about an evaluation review committee, kind of a conglomeration of the harbor board, the planning and zoning, and the borough assembly, and we would have two and two, I think, was the process. That as the comprehensive plan moves along, this committee, comprised of people from all, the planning and zoning, the harbor, and the borough, can look it over and see if things are moving along in a way that they think is favorable to the community at large, to all the various factions, and this includes all the input.
Well, I guess I'm a little confused on the process timeline that's in here.
Yeah.
Because basically it comes to the Borough Assembly awards the project, and there's an 8-month block where it's like they award the project to whoever's doing this, and what's going on during that time period? Are we having public meetings? Is there input going on from the community?
The consultant will describe the process, but a lot of it is going through the old comp plan and updating what's happened in the last.
But then it
14
shows
years.
basically a month between when the draft comp plan and then the final comp plan, and it seems like we're trying to cram all the community input, at least this is the way I read it, into that 1 month period at a time. And that seems like a lot to get done in a very short period of
I
time.
think you'd get the input and then make the draft plan.
Okay.
So there's,
But that's
like I
what
say,
I'm
that
saying, is it's just not
Yeah,
real
'cause
clear the way I read it.
The
And that's-
consultant is supposed to describe the process.
Yeah,
and
'cause
they
a-
might come up with something totally different, that
Than
you
this
need more than
timeline.
this, or you need, you know.
Because the biggest concern I hear from people is they don't want to just take the old one, which really
Exactly.
represents service area one, because
Right.
now we are really larger. We have a different demographics of people. The other one was outdated. Only, what people wanted done, opposites were done. And so that really concerns people. It's like, this is what was recommended, and we did.
And
Yeah.
I think there's a real concern also that what we're gonna get from the consultant is just a lot of boilerplate. And
Correct.
what we really want is something that is
New eyes.
inclusive of everybody in the community and
Right.
what the views are of the community as a whole.
Yeah,
And
not
various
just the same
different
people.
segments of the community
Right.
have different views too, and
Correct.
those need to be addressed.
And that's the biggest
We
concern.
discussed this at 1:00 with the borough manager, and that was his concern
Yeah.
too.
Because that's the
Yes.
biggest concern I hear from people. They
Yeah.
don't want the same people who've been
No.
doing it last time. They want all new blood.
Yes.
They want new people's ideas. And one of the things that some people suggested is they said, we'd like local, but then a lot of times the local purpose is just going to take the old one and just say, here, let's stay here, because they have too much influence from their friends and family. And to have new eyes come in who are not biased and look at it with new eyes is what a lot of people said. But local can mean different things to people. It can be within the state, it can be within the Northwest region because they think different. But when you go to the East Coast, because they think different, then people are concerned about the word local, is what I've been hearing people, is,
I think we're looking at something with a broad stakeholder base. And the RFP, in my understanding, would be a facilitator, not come in and say this is the way you do it, but just be a facilitator of all the various groups within the community. Kupernoff and Duncan Canal and all the various service groups. So I'm sure the proposal that would be best looked upon as favorable would be one of a facilitator versus
right,
a group that comes in and says, oh, we know how to do it, this is, what
correct.
we recommend you say it, or I think,
That concerns a lot of people.
the point is for a facilitator that can get the process moving
Much
with
better.
lots and lots of local input and variation.
Generate, listen to ideas, not have a bias, and then determine whether the people that are speaking represent a majority of the borough or just a portion.
Right, and the biggest thing is people want new blood.
Hence the evaluation committee, which would be comprised of the harbor board, the borough assembly, and the planning and zoning, so things don't go in one direction or another way out of whack. That they can go along with the process and say, yes, the group that I am a part of looks at that fairly favorably, or this is how we look at it, so let's put our heads together and come up with something
Well, and
out of the nine dots.
I also see a lot of tie-ins of various things, like with the land selection committee and us, because, for instance, we have to deal with the zoning of whatever land is selected, if that's gonna be part of the comprehensive plan. We have to think about that, and I think there's a lot of it that way, where it's gonna be between us talking to Harbor, it's us talking to the land selections, us talking to.
And the land selection's waiting on
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Exactly, so it's
So-
an inclusive process is, I think, where the RFP wants to head after
Yeah.
talking with people. Anybody else have some ideas, input, discussion?
I mean, I heard at the assembly meeting about, getting a consultant from Georgia, but, I mean, we're gonna be selecting through the RFP process, we're gonna be selecting who's gonna be our who's gonna be doing this, whether they're local, if there's somebody qualified local here in town, I don't think anybody would have any bias against that. But I know of several very well qualified and that know the area, know the community consultants that are based in Southeast Alaska right now. So and I know they'll be interested in doing this, so I don't think we have to worry that our only option is gonna be selecting somebody from
The East
Florida
Coast.
or Georgia that has no, and I mean, if I was on that committee, I definitely wouldn't pick them because the learning curve and the amount of work that
Right.
Leo would have to do to get them up onto speed would be not fair.
Right, or
Yeah.
from an urban area, and I think there's a lot of smaller consultant agencies in
Mhm.
rural America and the West that and Southeast Alaska that would have insight into a
Yeah,
community.
I just don't
of
want
our
them to,
diversity.
it's not just me, it's just a lot of people just don't want them to take the old one and just say, oh yeah,
Mm.
update it. We want them
Mm.
to
Yeah,
start fresh.
We're way beyond that.
yeah,
And as
You're-
far as land selection, first thing you do is you do a land inventory,
Right.
which would be perfect because we have this whole new borough. You know, do we have enough facilities out there? What should we be looking for land selection? And also it could be a basis for going back to the state and saying, boy, we need this much land and you guys are only offering us this much, and
Right.
we'll have to deal with that legislatively.
I think that was brought up at the land selection, that this comprehensive plan was extremely important to be able to, what was the proper word, petition or request more land.
Right. Well,
Oh, it
sorry.
is.
And I got one comment here. We talk about the last plan. I guess my feeling on at least part of the last plan, there's some groups that were at every meeting and other groups that never showed up. And so those groups that didn't show up now are looking at things and saying, gee, they should have done that different, but I don't know how you hear from those people.
Well, we've discussed a survey, we've had focus groups for the last meeting. But I'm reminded of the time when a guy came to show where the South Midcoff terminal will go. And this room was packed, and he got done and said to me, boy, it looks like everybody in Petersburg is against this thing. I said, no, the 32 people who showed up on a Tuesday night are against it. What about the other 3,000? How do you find out what they think?
That's the trouble.
Yeah. But the
But-
focus groups help, because we had one was business, and they were fun, because if you gave them, we got an hour, and you've got to do this, they were done in an hour.
Wow.
And the quality of life group, we give them an hour, and 2.5 hours later, they're still wandering around talking. It's, I forget what the other two groups were, but it was an interesting process. But that way you could, not just who happens to show up, we would call people individually, kind of divide them up and ask them to participate. It's one option that seemed to work.
And we have the internet type
Yeah.
situation, it's a little bit more easier.
Mind mixer,
Mhm.
that option.
I mean, democracy ultimately boils down to who shows up, who
That's
votes.
right.
And I mean, how do you include the people that don't voice their opinion? Well, guess what? They don't get included. So I mean, at some point, if you care about something, you have to stand up and at least, because can't be mind readers, But I have a couple questions about the comp plan. Aren't we required, as a result of forming a borough, to do a comprehensive plan? Isn't that one of the, that's in statute that we have to do this? So it's not an option.
But there's no penalty if you don't.
There's no penalty if we don't, but it is in statute that we have to do a comp
We
plan.
have to have a current comp plan, it has to be updated, I think, every 5 years, so it might be 10.
Well, no, I guess my question, yeah, I knew that, but my question was, when we formed a borough, part of that money that we got from the state,
The $600,000.
the $600,000,
Is with the thought that that's setup money, and one thing you have to have a comp plan to base, like zoning on, or,
right?
Or land.
yeah.
So.
You should base it on what the comp plan determined somehow.
So my question is, can the Borough Assembly just say, we're not gonna do a comp plan, go away? Does that, then what happens then, I guess, it'd be nice if somebody, pointed out to
Steve
the
comes up with Plan B.
Plan B, okay. So Steve's got a Plan B for the meeting?
Yeah.
Okay, cool,
I don't want to say much more.
okay.
Thank you.
But
Plan
there
B is
is
good
a
enough.
Plan B of trying to.
Good, good, that's
Okay,
good.
Before we go on to adjournment though, there are two things about the comp plan. As a planning and zoning commission, it would behoove us to lend our support towards the RFP if it's on the agenda on Monday, the 19th at 7 p.m., the Borough Assembly meeting. And two, if it passes, then we get to, or I guess I've been told I can appoint two persons to serve on the review and evaluation committee along with Borough Assembly members and
Did you want the gavel now, or?
yeah, I'd like volunteers. I have one volunteer. Is there anyone else? Oh, we get, okay. We'll have to see where Monday night goes and then act according to that plan, whatever happens on Monday night.
And that was volunteering to be on the committee to select a consultant.
It's the evaluation committee for
So-
just about everything.
Oh,
This is
okay.
crucial.
Right,
Everything.
We're very, you know, if you
Right.
can select the right consultant.
right, yeah, no, I mean, that's the important part.
Consultant, to work with the
Yeah.
harbor board, to work with the borough
Right.
assembly. It would be a very collaborative and inclusive process.
And
But-
keep it to a manageable level.
Yeah.
But my understanding is, what I just volunteered to do was primarily to select the consultant. That's gonna be doing
Is that
all,
what you're primarily interested in?
at this
The
point, yes.
consultants? Okay, I will note that.
Yeah, I mean, depending upon who the consultant is, I'd be interested in participating, but,
And I would think as a planning and zoning commission, that I think I read in here that we would review proposals.
right,
So we're set.
right, okay.
All right. We accomplished a lot today in a very positive manner. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Oh, wait. When's our next meeting? May 29th.
May 29th.
At 9 a.m. in the morning.
And then our next regular, does that
Is
count
June
as a regular?
10th.
June 10th.
So far, we didn't have anything on the agenda unless we have this application come in for a conditional use permit.
Okay, and do
Can we roll that into the same meeting in the interest of,
the 29th?
if it comes in? Or would that be
If you
appropriate?
wanna do that, but I think you're gonna have people that are gonna wanna discuss that application, where actually all you're doing is accepting an application and scheduling the public hearing for.
Since we said that 29th meeting would go from 9 to 10, could we have, if there's anything on the agenda?
Just have a
after
second
10?
meeting
Yeah,
afterwards?
after 10? If there's any
Oh, a
business?
separate meeting?
Yeah.
After 10?
From
We
10 to-
need to talk to the borough attorney
Okay.
soon, so let's ask that.
I'm just
I
thinking
have never
outside the
had,
box.
yes, I've gone through this process of having a decision I made formally appealed. So, it's,
Oh, okay, new territory. Lots
yeah.
of new territory for all of us. Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn the
I'm
today's meeting?
confused on the regular meeting. Is it the 10th?
Yes,
Tuesday the 10th?
that's the next scheduled regular meeting.
Right.
Okay, 'cause you said.
But we were
something
trying to
about-
amend it to have it after the 29th
I'm
one.
not going
As a possibility, but don't
Possible.
worry
Yeah,
about
I
that.
wanted the 11th. Earlier today.
Oh, that's right. Could we do it on Wednesday, the 11th? I'm flying in on the 10th.
I can,
when's,
June
sorry,
11th for a
you,
regular
Carrie.
meeting,
So
which is
Wednesday.
Wednesday. Swear, right in pencil.
Wednesday the
I'll
11th?
be in town.
You won't be here. Will you be
I
here?
should be.
You should be.
I'm leaving town on
You'll
Wednesday
be
the
here.
11th.
That
On
means
Alaska
another 4
Airlines?
AM meeting?
Alaska Airlines?
Yeah,
We could do it early then. It's just to accept an application if need be. It couldn't be a.
I wrote down early on the 11th, if at
Like-
all possible.
9
10?
o'clock?
9?
Yeah, 10 would be kinda cutting it, would it, if we have to have a meeting?
9?
Yeah, cause I'm on the morning jet. Are you on the morning jet?
Uh,
It comes in the
on
day
the
before.
11th, I'm flying in the day before.
The day before, okay.
Okay, so I have it at 9 AM.
Thank you.
Gosh, I have all these meetings right before I get on a plane.
That's right. Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I so move.
I second it.
It's been moved and seconded that we adjourn today's meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission, May 13th. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
You're doing a
Motion
great
carries.
job over there.